moment.
There we go. Welcome, odds and sods, to Geek Salad episode 256, the Beige album. I'm Andy.
I'm Mike.
I'm Joe.
I'm Catherine.
And welcome to what we hope will be an ongoing thing here with Geek Salad. As we had to switch over to StreamYard for our podcast, we decided we were going to make this a little fun because Mike and I have been using StreamYard for the last 5 or so years on our YouTube channel doing our movie reviews where we are live and we always get great comments and everything like that. We figured that we were going to make tonight a live broadcast. So that has been posted in on our link on Blue Sky at Geek Salad Radio. So hopefully you got the alert that we are here if you're subscribed to us. If not, what are you waiting for? We are going to stay off camera because there's a lot of moving parts on the podcast. There will be a fully edited version of this podcast coming up probably about a week or two once I can do all the music drops and all that fun stuff. So welcome.
Andy,
What's that?
just so you know, it does look like we have got 2 viewers already. So
boom, awesome. So please contribute in the chat. Mike will be reading your messages here as we discuss our favorite greatest hits albums ever. So let's start off with some social media feedback. I'm going to go to Facebook first, which is rare. I usually only tend to get feedback on this when we talk about music. So we first start off with Original Recipe, Mike Cicerone, who says better have the best of bread on their list. I don't think any of us have the best of bread on our list. And then he said, yeah?
We do also have our first comment. Kurt Smith says, hello.
Hi. I'm getting you, Kurt. I'm getting to you. Trust me, Kurt gave us a list. I have thoughts. But that was on our.
Ask and you shall receive.
Seriously, that will be. So Kurt, hang tight because that is part of our social media feedback. So we'll have your voice heard in just a moment. But Mike sent me that there was apparently a second volume of Bread's greatest hits, and I responded to it as if it was about as useful as Tone Loc having a second greatest hits album.
I didn't know. I didn't even know Bread had a first greatest hits album.
Yep. I also, by the way, Simpsons nerds, I did post the GIF of Homer going into the record store and asking where he could find the latest release by Bread. Oldies. We also have Kevin T. Baldwin, who says, I think any good greatest hits release inspires you to go back and listen to the original albums and finding the really good deep cuts not included on those greatest hits compilations. I do want to point out that Kevin wrote this as GH, so I'm coming so damn close to St. General Hospital. The first and second Eagles' greatest hits releases are good examples. Kevin, interesting. Eagles' Greatest Hits Volume 2 is what inspired this show because my daughter gave it to me for Christmas. And I'll be honest, it showed up on my honorable mentions list. And it is, I like that version. I like latter day Eagles versus kind of the country rock Eagles. So it's a really solid mix. Also, Styx has a really good greatest hits when they briefly reunited with Dennis DeYoung in the 90s. Other personal General Hospital favorites include those for Three Dog Night, Supertramp, and ELO. See what I did there?
Yeah.
All right, now getting over to Blue Sky, because I know Kurt's chomping at the bit here for me to read his. Because, goddamn, Kurt Smith at Swayze of Arabia at Blue Sky says, I could write a book, but I was able to edit it down to a respectable list. His respectable list, by the way, is 3 photos long. These are screenshots.
Kurt.
All right. Okay. Ramones Mania, solid cover, great tracks listing, all bangers. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, greatest hits. Yes. Solid mix of Heartbreaker songs, solo songs, a Thunderclap, Newman cover, and Mary Jane's Last Dance. Tom Petty, best of everything, does through Tom's career. From Mud Crunch, The Heartbreakers, and his solo work, plus great track listing, Tom Petty, The Live Anthology. My God, there's a lot of Tom Petty on here. Black Sabbath, We Sold Our Soul for Rock and Roll, solid collection of early Sabbath. The Beatles, Past Masters Volumes 1 and 2. Joey, don't you have that on your list? Or do you have another Beatles on your list? Spoiler.
I think he's got another Beatles.
Okay.
I got another Beatles. We will discuss.
All right. Awesome.
It's actually the first Beatles greatest hit album.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about that in just a moment. In fact, you can lead us off of that once we're done with social media.
All righty.
Yep. So, in terms of volumes 1 and 2, solid Beatles songs with some German versions of some classic Beatles songs. Emerson, Lake and Palmer, the best of ELP, solid collection, British prog rock, including the entirety of Tarkus and Fanfare for the Common Man. Rush retrospectives 1, 2, and I. Complete collection of Rush from 74 to 2008 with some early deep cuts like By Tor and Snow Dog and La Villa Strangiato. Genesis, The Last Domino, solid mixing the Gabriel era and the Collins era. Led Zeppelin, Mothership, 99% bangers, One Terrible Song, Dire Maker, and a DVD of solid live performances. Kiss, the very best of Kiss. That is false advertising right there. There's no such thing as the very best of Kiss. Even though it has Beth Christine 16, I Was Made for Loving You, Look It Up and Forever on it, still slaps with songs like I Love Let Loud and Hard Luck Woman. Spock's Beard, The First 20 Years. Solid songs from a criminally underrated modern prog rock band with an unreleased song called Falling for Forever, which is amazing. And then finally, his last one here, The Clash, the singles, all but one song are all solid. Johnny Cash, the legend Johnny Cash, solid collection of his early work and his series with the American album series, and Yes Years, a collection of some of the best British prog rock, and owner of a Lonely Heart stuff. Yes, Kurt loves his prog rock. So there's a lot there, man. I had to go through a lot of that, but definitely there's some real good stuff here that I've checked out before. And I think that like the Rush stuff is a great way to get into them if you are not into Rush, or you're a woman, and because chicks just not the Rush fans.
Yeah, no, that's not the fan base. No.
No.
Nope. Nope. So anyway, let's continue on, shall we, with our list. Kurt, thank you very much. Kevin and Mike, thank you so much for your feedback. And again, feel free to join us in the chat if you have anything you want to agree with, disagree with, or what to contribute. Exactly. That's the word I was looking for. It's been a long day, guys. I swear. All right.
It's been a long year.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways.
Joe, we did tease. Tell us a little bit about, Tell us a little bit about your album. Yeah.
Well, before I kind of start off, I wanted to kind of give an overview of my list, because with the days of modern like downloading and streaming and everything, we can kind of curate our own best of.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the great things about best of albums is you could basically get the songs you like without having to shell out $10 for an album for one song.
Mm-hmm.
You can get your collection of the songs that you like from a band that you like without having to shuffle through the shit of some albums.
Right. Yeah, some albums it was like there was only one or two songs
that were worth getting.
Yeah,
right.
I would only buy an album if there were 3 songs played on the radio from that album that I was like, okay, I like all of these, therefore that is worth my money to buy the whole album.
Right,
exactly.
And for me, I think the best ofs need to give you something a little extra, because Joe, to your point, especially in the age of streaming, you can just put together a bunch of songs.
Right.
Yep.
But what I really was looking for in my list. So my list is not a lot of like the bands I talk about a lot on this show, but just like give me something new, give me something extra.
Andy,
yes.
Kurt says that anyone who wants to see his whole list, he will post it on Blue Sky.
You know what, man? Do it. Just do it. Just friggin' do it and tag us in there. You have my permission.
so yeah, and so that's why a lot of my picks are like kind of, because some bands, like, if they're around long enough, they generate like 2 or 3 best greatest hits albums and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so a lot of these are like first time greatest of albums, except for one, but I'll go into that into detail for that later. But anyway, so my first choice, and this was actually very close to my heart, because this is actually the very first album of any music that I ever got.
Ooh.
And I got this when I was a young boy. My mom loves the Beatles. Okay. Even in Puerto Rico, she loves the Beatles. So that's what I grew up listening to as a little boy. So I fell in love with the Beatles. And I always kept begging my mom for, I want to listen to the Beatles. Give me Beatles. Well, she did. And the first album she got me was Beatles 1962 to 1966, otherwise known as the Red Album.
Ooh, nice.
And the thing is my love of the Beatles is pre-Sgt. Pepper's Beatles.
Same.
I love the pop rock Beatles. I don't like the psychedelic, way out kind of Maharishi shit that Georgia was into.
We are not besmirching George, though.
No, we are not. No, George is the best Beatle. He will always be the best Beatle. But anyway, so it's got all the basically what I think are all the Beatles bangers, like She Loves You, A Hard Day's Night, Help, everything that you associate with the mod top Beatlemania Beatles that I fell in love with, and absolutely just I will never get sick of listening to that album.
So you like basically the appearance on what was that show? Why am I blanking on it? Ed Sullivan.
Ed Sullivan, yeah.
So Ed Sullivan Beatles, right?
What?
You're talking about the Ed Sullivan Beatles.
The Ed Sullivan Beatles, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the Met Stadium Beatles, the post Pete Best Beatles, but
Yeah. Ringo was good, but he wasn't best.
But no, well, the other thing is too is like in those days, albums really weren't a normal thing. It was mostly singles. Singles were usually released, and then after a while they'd be compiled. So you could have one single in multiple albums. So but this was actually their first best of album. It was actually released in 1973. And it was a response to like bootlegs that were being offered on TV in the UK. And it was when they were doing the advertising for it, it was like the only officially released compilation of Beatles hits.
Oh.
So yeah, I mean, and I actually got a couple years ago for Christmas. I got a copy for Soph because she's into vinyl now, and she absolutely loves it. So I'm surprised she hasn't worn it through it yet. So, and that's my first pick.
Very cool.
Yes, it was.
Nice.
And did we lose Andy?
Did we lose Andy?
Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Yeah. I blotted out my screen, and maybe that's to turn my mic off. Yeah. No, I was saying that the 62 to 66 stuff is my personal favorite stuff as well, Joe. I can never decide which album I like better, Revolver or Rubber Soul. So
right. And well, like I was saying, this is a good way to. It's a great introduction for the Beatles. If you're all, if you're somebody who knows nothing about the Beatles, or you only know that everything post Sgt. Pepper's, and you want to know what the root of the Beatles are, this is a great way to do it.
Nice.
And like I said, they didn't release albums in the early days. It was all singles, and unless you got like you said, like you get Revolver or something like that. But
yeah,
again, it's got the classic Beatles hits. You really cannot go wrong with this album, with this for greatest hits.
Yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely not. All right, Catherine. Greatest hits hit us. Catherine? Oh dear, did we
Yo!
lose? Oh, hey!
Nope. You did not lose me.
All right.
Uh,
All right, cool.
The like landline went off, so I muted myself. All right.
Ah.
So the first one I'm going to talk about is Queen's Greatest Hits. This is the first Greatest Hits album, which has since been named number 1, but at the time it was just Greatest Hits.
This is the one with the green cover, right? The green album cover. Or
This
the
is
red,
the one.
kind of greenish blue album cover.
No. It's like it is red. It's like the text is red.
Oh.
And it's got the picture of the band on it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that one. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Yeah, all of this.
I was thinking of the.
Are you thinking
not the 1990 greatest hits? I'm thinking of the 1990 greatest hits. The one.
Yeah, you're thinking of like that mega compilation that came out right after Wayne's World came out.
Yeah, that's Greatest Hits 2. We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
No, this is the. This is Greatest Hits 1, as it was subsequently renamed because they had too many damn hits. So, and this is songs from like 74 to 1980.
Okay.
So we've got Bohemian Rhapsody. Got another one, Bites the Dust. We got Somebody to Love, Good Old Fashioned Lover Boy, Seven Seas of Rye, We Will Rock You, and We Are the Champions, of course. And then of course Flash, because they did the soundtrack to Flash Gordon, which I rewatched a few years ago. It holds up amazingly well.
Yeah, it's not streaming anywhere that I don't want to pay for. So
I think I rented it on Amazon. So a few dollars just to watch it.
Yep. Well, I know there's always my community library.
Yep. But yeah, there's a lot of great songs on here, and it's also a good introduction to Queen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I imagine, Catherine, that like this especially this album, Greatest Hits 1, is like it's a great way of listening to the evolution of the band because they, very much adapted with the time, unlike a lot of bands of that era.
Yeah. And they do like, for pacing, they space it out. So it's not like, they start with the beginning of the album starts with the early songs and then they end with the later songs. They kind of mix it up a little bit.
Oh, nice. Nice. I do love when they do that.
Yeah. So you bounce around a little bit to have a good experience. But
awesome.
Yeah, it's all kinds of different stuff. And yeah, because my mom listened to like, we had folk albums, and then we listened to top 40 on the radio in the car. And so it was like I didn't know a lot of music, so I didn't know about Queen before Wayne's World came out. And then like a friend of mine in college was like educating me, and I went to the college bookstore and I got the Greatest Hits 1 and 2 and just played them a lot.
Awesome.
But yeah, it holds up so well. It's so good.
I think that's the one you can still readily get to, like on vinyl. I think like all the big box stores carry this one. They carry the Greatest Hits Volume 1.
Oh, they carry both of them.
They do. Oh, okay.
I did buy them both at Target. Yes.
Okay.
when I got a record player.
My local fucking record store, Target. Gall.
It's where you can get the mass-produced stuff as opposed to like the mass-produced affordable as opposed to the vintage copies.
Yeah. No, I hear that. It still galls me. We were supposed to have a record store in my town, and we didn't get one.
Well, there's because of vinyl becoming a huge thing. Like, there's a consignment shop in Acton that has vinyl, but most of it is like 80s pop.
I don't mind. I actually like my cheap 80s vinyl.
Yeah,
I think I spent in total like 30.
You want cheap 80s vinyl? Don't go there.
Okay. Don't go tables to teapots unless you want to spend at least $10. Okay. Because I think
An
I
album.
bought like eight like 80s albums, like original pressing vinyl for like a total of $35.
Nice.
So yeah, I got like Pat Benatar's first 2 albums. I got
Oh, you're
Asia.
at the vinyl vault.
Yo, my friend, thank you for telling me about the Vinyl Vault. And people say that place is expensive, and I say to them, every record store is expensive.
Right, you just got to know what you're looking for.
Exactly, and that's a lot of cheap 80s vinyl.
I
All
got
right.
a fantastic Pearly May vinyl at the Book Barn for $1.
Lovely.
Need more of that, but yeah. So anyway,
I got the Hooters Nervous Night for like $5. So. All right. Well, Catherine, thank you. Mike, you're up.
All right. Mine is going to be kind of a companion piece to Joe's, and mine is the Best of the Monkeys.
Ooh. Band never got their due. Even
They never.
Never got the respect.
They never did.
Yeah. I mean, this one's just got hit after hit. I mean, it starts off with the theme from the Monkees, the extended theme, which is fantastic. They got Last Train to Clarksville, I Want to Be Free, I'm a Believer, Not Your Stepping Stone, Mary, Mary, A Little Bit Me, A Little Bit You, Girl I Knew Somewhere, Randy Scouse Get, which I love, Pleasant Valley Sunday, Words, Daydream Believer. I mean, honestly, the only hit of theirs that I really like that I don't see on this one is Auntie Griselda.
Really?
Yeah, that one doesn't seem to pop up on a lot of their best of albums.
Did you happen to mention? I'm sorry. In that list of amazing hits, did you mention Pleasant Valley Sunday?
I did mention Pleasant Valley Sunday.
Okay,
yes.
good. That is my favorite Monkey song. So
it's even got a song that was just Mickey Dolenz and Peter Tork called "This Was Then, That Was Then, This Is Now."
Yes.
And it's got the Porpoise song, aka the theme from Head.
Mm-hmm. Oh God.
And Kurt Smith says that's not even Michael Nesmith's real hat. But yeah, I mean, I love the Monkees. I mean, their show was phenomenal. It was kind of an American version of almost like Monty Python.
Yeah, it had, but it also had the same hijinks though as the Beatles' Help, just on television on a weekly basis.
Yeah, and yeah, they didn't play their own instruments, but they did sing.
Yep.
Well, I think they at first, but they did eventually learn their instruments. Yeah, eventually they learned their own instruments, and they were actually play it live. They would play their instruments live.
Yeah. And I actually bought this album when I went and saw them live. This was I mean, Nesmith wasn't there obviously, but it was Mickey Dolenz, Peter Tork, and why am I blanking on his name?
Peter Tork, Mickey Dolenz, Davy Jones, and Mike Nesmith.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
So it was those three, and they played their own instruments. They had some backers, obviously, but yeah. And so I bought this album when I saw them.
Nice. Yeah, it's a solid collection.
It really is.
When you consider that almost everything they did was a hit.
Yeah.
Except for Head, and if you don't watch Head, you don't have to. It's I saw it in college, and it was like I told my mother's boyfriend at the time, about that. He's like, "Oh, that's what that's essentially a circle film." And I'm like, "What do you mean by that?" It's like you can walk in at any point in the movie and just sit for 2 hours, and it will make just about as much sense.
Yeah. I think my favorite Monkees song is it's usually a toss-up between Daydream Believer and I'm a Believer.
Uh-huh.
But I tend to go more towards I'm a Believer because I think I like Mickey Dolenz vocals a little bit more than I like Davy Jones.
Yeah, like he just was so calm and smooth. And the thing is with I'm a Believer though is that it's just like I think Shrek ruined it for me.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Shrek ruins a lot of things, quite frankly. But
yeah, which is really yeah.
Yeah, but if you go to the original Monkeys version of "I'm a Believer," that's the good one.
Right.
Yes.
So,
All
yeah,
right.
that's my pick.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm up next, and I purposely went with albums that like gave us a little extra, and I'm going to start off my list with New Order Substance 1987. So this is a best of for New Order, where the majority of the songs are not like their original album cuts. Several of the songs were like the 12-inch version, so they're much longer. I have all the trivia up here for it. Songs like "The Perfect Kiss," which is like the very first New Order song I heard, "Subculture," "Shell Shock," and "Hurt" were edited down because of the constraints of CDs at the time. But if you bought it on vinyl or you bought it on cassette, you would get like the super long versions of those songs. A couple of the songs were re-recorded because two of them originally were Joy Division songs, but they were re-recorded specifically for the album. And that's something I really love about this compilation is that it's, Joe, you had mentioned earlier, you kind of put together your own mixtape of just like your favorite songs from a band. With this one, it's just, it goes the extra mile. I'm shocked there isn't a live version of a song on here. Because it's just like everything here, it substitutes from its original album version. And honestly, some of these cuts, especially, oh good Lord, which one is it? I think it's Subculture. Subculture is much slower on the album cut. It is way better on this compilation. And this is actually still my go-to compilation, even though they released a best of like about 15 years ago. It's just, even though they put out more songs, this is not only is a perfect blend of songs, but it is also great too if you are somebody who's heard about New Order or Joy Division and you want to get into the band, but you haven't heard a lot of it. This is great starter material for you. And then you can decide from there where you want to go. To Kevin Baldwin's point, you could go for those deeper tracks if you want to, or you can just kind of stay situated in Substance 97 or 87's warm embrace. So that's my 2 cents. So, all right. Joe, we're going back to you then.
All right. Actually, I don't think anybody would be surprised by this one. But my next pick is Eric Clapton, "Crossroads."
No.
Yes.
Shocker! I know everybody's just stunned.
Oh my God! I'm clutching my pearls and trying to figure out where my monocle popped off of.
I mean, but honestly, if you want the ultimate career retrospective best of album, you really can't do much better than Crossroads.
This isn't the box set, is it?
Yes, it is. It's a
This is the box set.
This is a 4-disc box set from his entire Polydor collection.
Back to the golden age of box sets.
Yeah, well, I think this was like one of the first box sets that came out. Because I remember it was a big deal in high school. Because it was like a 3-digit, like a 3-digit dollar box set.
Yep, I remember that because first of all, I remember the 5-star review that Rolling Stone gave it. But I also remember, too, it was coming off the heels of Springsteen's Live 75 to 85.
Yep.
Which, again, money I did not have access to back then.
Yeah, well, same here. I mean, I wanted this album in the worst possible way. But no, like I said, it takes all the best hits from his time in the Yardbirds to John Mayall and the Blues Breakers, Cream, Blind Faith, Derek and the Dominoes, through his solo career up until the Warner Brother years, which is 1983. And I mean, it's got every song that you think of associated with Eric Clapton. It's in here. You know,
Nice.
and it's also got some deep cuts that weren't available in his studio albums. Like a lot of live stuff, some live stuff, some alternate takes, and that's a good best of album or good compilation can sometimes give you some, like you said, Andy, it will give you like either alternate takes or or a remaster or something of a song that you really like or you've never heard of before.
Yeah.
But and yeah, like I said, it was a four disc box set, cost over $100 back in 1988. But it was also released at the perfect time because this was like Clapton's quote unquote second comeback, where he's really making his ascension into like as an adult rock megastar. And it also introduced a lot of new people to Clapton's classic work.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I definitely remember that. Now, yeah, I also remember too, this is back when they were really trying to capitalize on CDs because CDs, they were still reasonably new technology at the time.
Yes.
And it always felt weird buying tape, the tape box sets.
Right. Well, I mean, each disc too was also like contained almost like 2 albums worth of music.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about, a 20-year career, and they managed to put it together into a pretty good compilation.
Yeah. Nice. Well, now you got me thinking that our next music episode that isn't based on a year is going to have to be favorite live albums because you got me thinking about 75 to 85 Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. And damn it, I want to talk about that now. But that's not a best of. That's a live album.
That's a live album.
Different. That's a totally different thing.
Yep.
Nice. So, Joe, let me ask you one last question here. What medium did you eventually purchase it on?
I initially purchased it on CD because by then I had gotten a CD. I had a CD player.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if I can find a vinyl of it, I would probably buy a vinyl.
Check the vault.
Oh, I'm sure they have it somewhere. So
yeah, perhaps. Yeah. No, I always felt weird, like with buying cassettes in the box sets, especially like that Led Zeppelin box set that came out in 1990. Jim bought it, and it was like you open it up, and here's 4 tapes. Like, yeah.
Oh no! I got the entire. When did they Led Zeppelin release their entire discography in that box that had each disc in it? Oh,
I don't remember that. I do remember Pink Floyd did something similar.
It had
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
it had the flip open top and everything else. I can't remember.
Yeah. Well, it's that's just a collection of things. That's that's why the Police's Message in a Box isn't on my list. It's not a best of. It's everything they ever put out.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right. Well, with our record nerdiness out of the way, Catherine, what is up next?
Yes. Next, we're going to switch gears and go to Dial-A-Song, 20 Years of They Might Be Giants.
Oh, lovely.
And lest anybody question, here is the jacket. This is not a rarities collection of Dial-A-Song demos, but rather a comprehensive anthology of the very best recorded work of They Might Be Giants, spanning the first 20 years of the band's career. From their breakthrough alternative single, Don't Let's Start, to their international hit, Birdhouse in Your Soul, right up to their most recent Grammy-winning song, Boss of Me. This deluxe 52-song 2-disc set also includes a full-color booklet with complete lyrics, discography, and essays by the band and This American Life's, and also The Incredibles', Sarah Vowell.
Nice.
So this is if you only know like later They Might Be Giants, you heard Boss of Me and you're like, this is great. This is the place to get your education on why people like They Might Be Giants beyond Flood.
Right. And honestly, I love Flood, but their first album and Lincoln are just absolute bangers of albums. I just actually recently, within like the last 6 months, one of the only news podcasts that I stuck with, Mueller, She Wrote, They Might Be Giants wrote their intro song.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, they're part of the Daily Beans network. So, so They Might Be Giants wrote that. I remember seeing They Might Be Giants in concert on the Flood Tour, and I got into a car accident on the way there, and it didn't stop me from going to the show.
Yeah,
That's dedication.
I saw them. I saw them live during the Live Noise tour.
Ah,
Saw them at a little place called Toad's Hollow down in New Haven.
nice. Now I got a hankering to listen to more of them. It's been a while.
But yeah, it's a great tour. There's a lot of stuff. And speaking of, you want something bonus on your best of albums. This has Stormy Pinkness live in Berlin, 1989, where they do a special waltz time, and they're like, "Okay, we're gonna have you guys stomp in time to this. Don't get thrown off. It's this," and the audience is like, "Yeah, that's a waltz time. We're good."
Nice, awesome. All right, Mike.
Yes.
You're up.
All right. I'm going to go with next, the Sherman Brothers Songbook.
Ooh.
I mean, the Sherman Brothers, if you don't know for some reason, you're under a rock or something, they were the only studio songwriters that Walt Disney ever hired. They did pretty much every song that you think of from the golden age of Disney. I mean, and this one's got a really wide selection of theirs. It starts off with "Tall Paul" sung by Annette Funicello. It's got "The Parent Trap," "A Wonderful World of Color," Strum and Song, also Annette Funicello there. One of my favorites on this one is "Enjoy It," or "Enjoy It" by Marie Chevalier and Haley Mills. It's got a Tiki Room. It's a Small World, obviously. It's got Spoonful of Sugar, Chim Chim Cherry, Feed the Birds, and Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious from Mary Poppins.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just Disney, though, because this one also it's a 2-album set. And on the second album, it's got a few songs from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang on there as well, which they did do. That was their biggest non-Disney hit. And, it goes all the way up through Bedknobs and Broomsticks. It's got Magic Journeys from Magic Journeys. It's got Meet the World from the Tokyo Disneyland.
Oh, nice.
It's got, Winnie the Pooh. And as a bonus track, it's also got their demo of Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow, sung by Bob Sherman, Dick Sherman, and Walt Disney himself, actually.
But
yeah, and honestly, I think my favorite song off of this one is it's one that's not really well known. It's from the movie The Happiest Millionaire. And it's just called Fortuosity. The Sherman Brothers were great at making up songs about made-up words, and this was just so much fun.
Yeah, no, I've listened to it before, and it's a great time capsule.
Yeah,
of the peak of Disney songwriting.
Yeah, it goes all the way up to the Tigger movie, which case they did a song sung by Kenny Loggins.
Oh, God.
Will Lead You Home.
Oh, okay, I thought it was Pooh Corner. I didn't think they wrote that.
Nope. Yeah, so I mean, this encompasses pretty much their entire career, from doing songs for Annette Funicello all the way up through the last movie that they did together before Bob Robert Sherman died, and we just lost Richard Sherman just last year too.
Yeah.
And Kurt says, thanks to Mike, I now have supercalifragilisticexpialidocious from MST stuck in my head. You are very welcome, Kurt.
Cool. All right, Mike. Thanks a lot. So I'm gonna my next pick here. Great album if you want to put it on at just a party. You want to have something that people are just going to be vaguely familiar with, if not completely familiar with. ABBA Gold.
Oh, you can't go wrong with ABBA.
This clicks all the boxes in terms of what a great best of does. It not only gives you all of their best songs, but if you want to, if it gives you that permission to kind of go in and learn more. And there are going to be certain songs that were big hits like out in Europe that we didn't get here in America. And quite honestly, I wouldn't have, if it weren't for Mamma Mia and ABBA Gold, I would have never known about songs like Super Trooper or Voulez-Vous or what's the name of that? What's the name of that song? Here, I got the entire track list here. Lay All Your Love on Me and Knowing Me, Knowing You. These are songs that like were big hits elsewhere. They weren't huge hits here. So having this and being able to get a taste for what they're offering the rest of the world. I just watched a documentary on ABBA on Netflix, and it's insane how successful they were, but how hated they were. Because they came out, Joe, at the worst possible time. They were always against the grain.
I know, but it's like, I guess with the hindsight being 2020, it makes no sense to me because they're such a catchy band.
Yeah,
they're so much fun to listen to.
Yeah, but you think about their first. I mean, Waterloo is premiered in 74, so we're on 74, 75, 76. You've got like John Denver, and you've got Springsteen, and you've got like that type of stuff. And what happens in like 77, 78 in Europe? The punk revolution.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So they were always a step behind the times, but like apparently the Sex Pistols actually had the only tape they had was Dancing Queen, and they just kept playing it again and again and again.
Oh, what a bunch of assholes!
Yeah, seriously.
So this documentary,
John Lydon, I'm most disappointed in you.
I am so disappointed in him. Anyways,
Brexit forever.
So this documentary, when did they talk about chess?
They never did because it's just about ABBA. Hey,
so
chess is coming.
About not just about the couple members of ABBA who did chess. Got it.
Yeah, no. I honestly, it was an interesting look too because you could tell how miserable Agnetha was being in the band. It just success was not for her, and so Agnetha was the blonde, and it just covers the stuff of the band, so it doesn't cover the Benny and Bjorn stuff for afterwards, or nor does it cover like that weird reunion they had where they were singing the songs, but they had like holograms and projections of their younger selves to perform them. Yeah, I know it's a weird thing. They were offered like about 20 years ago. They were offered like $1 billion to tour the world. And they're like, nope.
Honestly, can't say I blame them, but
yep. But Catherine, chess is coming back.
Oh, I know.
It's coming to Broadway, and I'm about a third psyched about the cast, and that's just Aaron Tveit.
Yeah, I know. The after covering chess on Worst of All Possible Worlds, they are anticipating the updated release. Apparently there's a new book.
Yeah, well, they have to give all the women's songs to Leah Michelle, don't you know?
Oh God.
So, yeah, but ABBA Gold is. I mean, you seriously cannot go wrong with it. Even if you think yourself a hardcore ABBA hater, I defy you to listen to this album and not come away feeling stoked and pumped and energized. Defy you. Shiny nickel on my honor.
I like ABBA.
I have a better appreciation for ABBA now because of Gold than I did in my, cynical punk years. So, and again, Johnny Rotten, you've disappointed me the most.
I think I did ABBA Gold, was, a thing back in the 90s.
It was. Well, it came out in like 92. It came out like 10 years after they stopped recording. They never technically broke up.
Yeah, that completely makes sense because that was about the time that I heard it. So that was when I was exposed to it. So it's like,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was 30 years ago. I'm good.
Yep. And it makes it so much more disappointing to listen to the original cast recording of Mamma Mia after you've listened to ABBA Gold. It's like, what the hell is this?
Oh God. Yeah, I can only imagine.
So anyway, I guess we're back to Joe now.
All right.
Oh wait, can I have
Oh,
one
yeah,
last memory about ABBA?
Yes.
Because it came out like at that period in the 90s when I was working at the bus company, somebody would sometimes pipe it into the garage. So I'm like, and I think I had times where it was like walking back and forth and from the the dispatcher desk to the back of the garage and back again. I was like, I'm gonna wear roller skates, and somebody started playing Dancing Queen. Right.
No, that's cool. I will say though that the intro music to Mamma Mia sounds like it's a caper. Like you should be like sneaking around somewhere. Always thought that about that song. But Joe, continue. I know you're going to talk about another band that you've talked about 1,000 times on this show.
Yeah,
And that's why we appreciate you.
Yeah.
Not that it's not predictable. Well, yeah. I mean, this is, and this is actually what I would consider the most basic best of album in my list, and that's Money for Nothing, the best of Dire Straits. And I mean, it's really nothing. It's just a straightforward best of album. They took a couple of songs from each of their albums that they had released by then, which was by then 6 albums. So it wasn't very long. 12 tracks, a couple of, like I said, a couple of songs from each of their albums, and it was released to capitalize on their ongoing popularity. This was released in 1988, and the Brothers in Arms tour was still going strong, and they were still topping the charts. So basically, this was just like, okay, well, let's, Warner Brothers, like, okay, well, we need to capitalize some more on this because we don't know when the next Dire Straits album is going to come out. So,
Damn. Came out 1 year too early.
Yeah,
it did. Oh, for the Princess Bride?
No, 89. They could have capitalized on UHF, Money for Nothing, with Beverly Hillbillies.
I think those would be conspicuously absent from the Dire Straits best of, but I'm sure that they were like chomping the bit, like, okay, Mark, get in the studio. Oh, you're in the studio now. What are you doing? That doesn't sound like a Dire Straits album. That sounds like a soundtrack.
Well, he did a lot of soundtracks, and he went rockabilly and folk and roots and blues. He is nothing if not versatile.
And lots and lots of booze.
He does. No, he's not.
Yeah, I've never really heard of Mark Knopfler being like super problematic, like a problem drunk or anything like that.
He's not. No, he's not. He's one of the good ones.
Yeah. Okay.
He never lost his mind the way Eric Clapton did.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Heroin is a hell of a drug.
Oh boy, yeah. So, anything else you want to say about Money for Nothing?
It's a very basic best of album. So,
yeah, I was going to say lazy title.
Oh God, yeah.
Jesus Christ, that's a lazy title.
Well, their next best of, or the next best of, was encapsulated the Dire Straits and Mark Knopfler career, so everything he did solo as well. And it's just called Private Investigations. And it's just like, okay, whatever.
It's like best of Sting and the Police.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Oh man, that's hilarious. I mean, I'm looking at some of these titles for some of these best ofs. Dial a Song, or even Crossroads. Even though I know that's a big hit. What always drove me nuts were like bands that were like barely above mediocre, and like their best ofs are always like nothing but the best. It's like, fuck off.
Well, and my next one, I think my next one, they named their album appropriately.
I
My-
agree, but you got to wait your turn for that
Oh,
one.
I will.
No,
That's
no,
right.
my brother, you got to get your own. All right, Catherine.
So speaking of unimaginative album titles, next up I have Queen Greatest Hits 2.
Exactly.
So this is their 80s and very early, like up to 91 with The Show Must Go On. We have several songs from Highlander,
Mhm.
because that was the movie they did at the time. Also, I'm Going Slightly Mad. I Want It All. Who Wants to Live Forever? But that again, yes, that is
Yeah.
from Highlander.
Well,
Yep.
the unofficial Highlander soundtrack.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is kind of. Kind of Magic. That album is the unofficial soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This has a lot of the songs from that because they were all very popular. But they also
Right.
have Radio Gaga.
And I was going to say that is the song. I used to hear Another One Bites the Dust on the radio all the time, but Radio Gaga was like an MTV hit, so I actually paid attention to it.
And this album also has Under Pressure with some artist named David Jones. David Jones.
Oh yes, David Jones from the Beatles. I'm sorry, the Monkees.
That's right.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
totally not David Bowie.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all.
That actually might be my favorite Queen / David Bowie song.
Yeah, that is his legal name was David Jones.
Yes, and he had to change it because of Davy Jones. I don't think the career would have kind of resonated the same way.
Yeah, it worked out for him very well given who.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Oh.
Awesome. Anything else you want to say about Queen's Greatest Hits of Volume 2?
Other than it's awesome, no.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Now that
this-
was the
I-
one
I-
that was released in the 90s, right? That was released to capitalize on Wayne's
This-
World.
right? Well, immediately after Freddie's death.
Yeah, it was like a perfect storm of
Yeah.
things. It was like Freddie died, and then 2 months later, Wayne's World gets released, and Bohemian Rhapsody becomes huge, and then this comes out. How could you?
Yeah.
It was like a recipe for success. It's almost like they planned it.
Well, Bohemian Rhapsody was is the first track on the first one.
Yes.
And The Show Must Go On is the second to last track on Greatest Hits 2.
Interesting. Cool. Awesome. I must go listen to both of those.
Yeah. Now, Andy, I'm with you now because about the live albums now because talking about this got me thinking about Queen live at Wembley.
No, God. Yeah, that's our next thing. That's going to be our next music chat.
Oh, live albums? I am there.
Yep.
Queen live at Wembley. Oh, chef's kiss.
So many great live albums.
Yep.
But I'm going to pass the baton over to Mike here. Mike.
All right. Yeah. So I'm going to bring out some J-pop now. Actually, it's more
Okay.
J-rock, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say J-rock. It's not quite J-pop. Not quite as bubbly as.
Yeah, it's late 80s J-rock. And it's the best collection of music from the anime Bubblegum Crisis. This one is very not steampunk. It's kind of like late 80s mech suit, but not quite Gundam.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the four main characters are all women, and they sing actually several of these songs. Unfortunately, on the back of the CD, most of the names are in Japanese, but I did pull up the track list on Amazon here. It starts off with probably the biggest song from the anime, Konniwa Hurricane. And it's actually the song that literally opens up the anime. It's the first thing you hear. And then it's got several songs here. Kodoko no Angel, Remember, Mr. Dandy, Mad Machine. That's a big one for them. Victory, Kick Me 17 Girl, Rock Me, Say Yes, Never the End. My favorite song on this one is actually a song that I listened to and enjoyed so much that I actually memorized it in Japanese, and I can still remember most of it.
Nah.
And it's called Asue Touchdown, and it's actually sung by the individual voice actresses. And the music video for it is actually fully animated. It's got all the characters, and it even shows some flashbacks that aren't shown in the anime that I'm aware of. That shows how the main characters all came together as the Night Sabers. Yeah, it's Japanese J rock, late '80s. So it's got kind of a rock pop mix almost, but it's definitely more rockish, and it's really solid. I mean, this was a song this was an anime that definitely relied more on like mech fighting and but not like huge Gundam size. These are all personal, like human sized individual mech suits.
Okay.
And it definitely leaned more into kind of a cyberpunk feel, like a late 80s cyberpunk, like almost Blade Runner-esque type. But
yeah, definitely had an 80s vibe to it, very much like Akira and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely feel like that. But it also leaned very heavily into the kind of a J-rock feel to it. And the album actually really exemplifies it. And it's still, I mean, I actually looked up this album that I've got in my hand right here on Amazon, and they're selling new copies or new or used copies starting at only $300. So this is a very nice CD I've got. I'm not going to give it to anything.
Nice.
But yeah, so if you're looking for some like late 80s Japanese rock from an anime, you cannot go bad with this one.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. Well, I guess I'm up next, and I'm going to go with REM Eponymous, which was their first best of, released in 1988, right before this was released as kind of like their last release on IRS Records before they moved over to Warner Brothers a month later to release Green. Like I've said about the best ofs that I've picked for this, is that I love when a best of will give you something extra. And a number of the songs on this best of are alternate versions of some of their songs. Like Radio Free Europe is the original Hibtone single that was released in 81. Their Murmur was their first album that was released in 83. But this version of Radio Free Europe is faster. It's a little more high energy. The band personally likes this one better than the one that ended up on the album. Same thing with Guarding at Night. Just different tempo in there. And the Finest Work Song is the Mutual Drum Horn mix, which again I think that the layers of adding horns to the song worked really, really well. But again, it's a great representation of their early work. I mean, I don't want to call it like, I would call something like Changes One Bowie, David Bowie's first greatest hits, as kind of like, it feels like an unfinished piece of art, because there is so much more story to be told in Bowie's history.
Right.
With REM, it's like they definitely have three acts to their existence. They have their IRS, they have their early, like their chart topping Warner Brothers, and then they have like the last 10 years where they're putting out quality work, but just wasn't making the same type of groundswell that their Warner Brothers stuff, or even the stuff on Document. I mean, Document, their last album on IRS, had the one I love, It's the End of the World as We Know as I Feel Fine, Finest Work Song from Eponymous. It had all those on there. Fantastic album, but that was like their big last hit on the independent record before they moved over to the big boys over at Warner Brothers. They did release another best of that was just solely IRS, but this is essentially 45 minutes worth of really fun music. I listened to this recently and I was just so entertained at how much I love this album. It really, this got more play than some of their regular stuff, and I love REM because it's a great representation of the band. And if you want to get somebody interested in REM, you cannot go wrong by handing them a cassette. This is what I had, or a CD of Eponymous, and say, "Here, put this on. Listen to this. Enjoy." Any thoughts, or are we just moving on to Joe's last one?
You're the REM guy here, Andy.
I really am like on an island all by myself when I talk about music, aren't I? I mean, between Mike's country, Mike's on Country Island. I'm like on alt rock island here. It's like,
Yeah, we all kind of live on our own islands here.
yeah, kind of. Except for you, Catherine, you've got a very accessible list here of music. I'll give you that.
Well,
Very
this
accessible.
particular one. This
I mean,
was like,
it's kind of a lonely island, personally, but
Yeah,
I
I went raiding my CD cabinet for things that were best of albums. That was like.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we each have one pick left. So, Joe, why don't you go with yours?
All right. For my final pick, I went with the Beach Boys, The Sounds of Summer. And like I said, you don't get a more appropriately named best of album than this.
Joe, I was gonna pick a Beach Boys album, but you grabbed it first. So,
which one were you gonna pick? Because
I was gonna go with
because honestly, they have a ton of best of albums.
Yeah, I've got one. I've got right here 20 Good Vibrations.
Yeah,
Beach Boys, 20 Good Vibrations.
Okay, when was that released?
Date
1974, I think. 95.
Okay. Yeah, and I know I've said this several times before, but you can, with some of these best ofs with the Beach Boys, you can legitimately tell the exact moment where Mike Love decided to take advantage of a clearly mentally incapacitated Brian Wilson.
Right, he needed money.
Yeah, exactly. How could I sully this band's good name?
But so here's the thing. This one was released in 2003.
Mm-hmm.
It's 30 tracks of Beach Boys hits. Only 5 of them are post 1969.
Ooh, okay.
And of those 25, 90% of them are Brian Wilson written.
Okay.
And the ones that aren't Brian Wilson are covers, or that he traditionally arranged.
Okay.
So, because fuck Mike Love.
Yep, exactly. Okay. Write it in the sky and gossamer teardrops. Fuck Mike Love.
And the great thing, another great thing about this album is the Beach Boys kind of suffered from the same thing that the early Beatles did. Is that they released singles. Early in their career, and their songs didn't get compiled into albums until like 3 or 4 years into the career. And when they would release singles, they release one version, but when the album was released, it'd be a totally different version, and it wouldn't be the version that they play on the radio. And this best of does a great job of releasing the alternate or the original alternate versions of the songs. And you also get alternate remixes or stereo. A lot of the original songs were done as mono mixes, and some of them were done as stereo mixes and sound so much better. Were redone as stereo remixes and sound so much better, especially the later stuff where Brian was experimenting with the wall of sound.
Mm-hmm.
That comes off so much better in stereo than it does in mono.
I never got why they I'll use the Beatles as an example. Why they decided to release mono, digital copies of the Beatles stuff. I'm like, we don't live in that era anymore. It sounds flat.
Well, that's the thing. Like Pet Sounds was originally mixed as in mono. It will release in mono. Okay, this album has the songs from Pet Sound in stereo. So God Only Knows, Sloop John B, Wouldn't It Be Nice, all in stereo, and it sounds so much better and so much fuller. The other great thing about this album is it's really a retrospective on Brian Wilson's career from the beginning, and you can see the trajectory of his career, not just as a songwriter but also as a producer, because it starts off with the surf, the surf songs and the rah rah American Pie, beach songs, until the really mature stuff that you start seeing in like Pet Sounds and afterwards. So if you really want to get a true encapsulation of who the Beach Boys really are, this is a great album to do it with.
Nice.
Because fuck Mike Love.
I still do like Kokomo though. I'm sorry, guys. I do.
It does. No, this does have Kokomo, but
it's like I think it's their biggest selling hit. So yeah. Oh, okay. So awesome. All right, Catherine, what's your final pick?
All right, my final pick, also originally titled, is Devo Greatest Hits. And this is I need some Devo, but I don't need all the Devo album. I have a second Devo album, but I wanted a bunch of the classics, and I mean, you've got Whip It, you've got Girl You Want, although it's a different version than what's on the Tomb Raider
Tank Girl soundtrack.
The Tank Girl soundtrack that we talked about earlier this year, but there's also their covers songs like I Can't Go excuse me, I Can't Get No Satisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
Working in the Coal Mine. They're just fun. But and then Through Being Cool was shown in the heavy metal movie in the it's part of the last story.
So is Working on a Coal Mine.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. Through Being Cool is
it's very much in the background.
Yeah. Whereas Through Being Cool is featured, and when I hear the song on the disc, I'm just I see the scene at the bar.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah,
but
that's
it's very representative, I think, of Devo.
Yeah.
And
it's not true Devo. Yep. I see that right here. It's not true Devo album without the theme from Dr. Detroit. You call the doctor.
Oh my God, that's right. They were Dr. Detroit. Jesus.
Yeah.
Kurt, it's a greatest hits album. What are you gonna do?
Right. It's like Prince's best of actually leaves off one of his number one hits. It leaves Bat Dance off.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't know if that's because of issues with Warner Brothers licensing it for another release because of the amount of movie audio they put in it.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, but no, Catherine, I'm with you on that. I really love Devo, but sometimes their deep tracks get a little too deep for me. And I think that having something that really is just like a great high-level primer.
Yeah, and I think that's what this album is.
So excellent. I love that. I have to find that one on vinyl. I need some Devo on vinyl.
Ooh.
Damn it.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, I'm going to check the vault. You got to check the vault, Catherine. It's in Littleton.
Got it.
Littleton Common.
Yep.
I can also walk to Wexrex.
That's true. Is that place? I think I asked this before. Is that place like a complete dump, or is it decent?
I haven't been in yet, but it's it's records, vintage toys, T-shirts.
Okay.
So
their Facebook page makes it look like it's essentially just it's a dirt farm.
Yeah, but it might also just be the location. So I haven't gone in yet. So I can't say for sure. But other stores have occupied that space, and they've just sort of been like a crammed junk spot. So that's why one reason I haven't been motivated. But I'm gonna say that Guitars and Grooves in Town is just sort of like meh.
Yeah, they are the very definition of a too expensive record store.
Yeah, it's a very expensive record store, which doesn't have a lot of selection.
No, it's a very small selection, and I will say that my last pick I did purchase from there, but we'll get into. I don't want to skip over. I don't want to jump over Mike, so
All right.
I'll leave it at that. But yeah, definitely I got to check out Devo's greatest hits. All right, Mike.
All right. Yeah. It wouldn't be a music album for me if I didn't bring up some country. So I got Diamond Rio's greatest hits.
Oh, okay.
I mean, this is probably my second favorite country artist group.
Mm-hmm.
Besides, just behind Rascal Flatts, but I mean, honestly, most of their albums are just so good that they don't really have a greatest hits. At least not one that I've got.
Okay.
But Diamond Rio, their greatest hits album that came out in '97, and it's got like the one songs that I've mentioned before on previous years. Meet in the Middle, No More Gene Riley, In a Week or Two, Love a Little Stronger, It's All in Your Head. But what's great about their greatest hits album, is they actually included a couple of new songs. At least one of which actually came out. They released as a single as well. So it was a single off a greatest hits album that became a greatest hit. But that one's called "How Your Love Makes Me Feel."
Yeah.
And it's just a really fun song. What I love about Diamond Rio is they don't mind having just a real fun song, and that's one of them. I mean, they've also got another song on here that I don't think they released as a single, but it's still a really good song. It's called "Imagine That." It's the last song on the track on the album. But yeah, "How Your Love Makes Me Feel." It's just, and they actually made a music video that's just, again, just so much fun. It's
yeah.
That's one of the reasons I like them so much, and also the fact that they can actually work a mandolin into their music track. So you don't often have too many groups that play a mandolin, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
And
Losing My Religion's got a mandolin in it.
Yeah. Excellent.
The song "Mandolin Rain" by Bruce Hornsby and the Range has a mandolin in it.
That's a little bit too on the nose.
I know, but still. Sorry.
Their harmonies are just so good.
Nice.
So,
yeah, and that is kind of common practice too. I mean, usually, it's a lot of like, we're putting out a best of. We should give someone a little extra. Let's dump one of these songs that never made it never made it to a B-side, onto our album. Like the Foo Fighters' greatest hits is a good compilation. And they've got like 2 songs on there. Neither of one maybe I'd give a little time to. Wheels I'm not a fan of. But Word Forward I actually like a lot. But you could tell it was never meant to like see the light of day until a best of like rolls up. That drives me nuts. It's also like, REM, eponymous. Their song "Romance," which was in a movie that nobody heard of called Made in Heaven. It was like, okay, we'll just pop this on here because that album never got a decent release. So, all right, Mike, you done with Diamond Rio?
I am.
Excellent. All right, well, I'll close us out here with my pick.
Well,
the album. Yes.
Well, hold on. Do we want to cover our honorable mentions first?
I think I'm the only one who had an honorable mention on this list here.
I didn't have any.
I do have one, but I didn't put it on the list.
Oh, okay. Well, I've already mentioned Changes One Bowie and the Best of the Eagles Volume 2. I will bring up the Best of Journey, which is their best-selling album, which is kind of insane to me. Again, was it a birthday gift or a Christmas gift? I got it as a record from my children. And it is a very good compilation. It's kind of weird because it's like that thing where I look at, do I play the Best of Journey or do I play Escape? I don't know.
Decisions.
I
know.
No bad choice there.
First world problems. But yeah. So, Mike, did you have an honorable you wanted to talk about real quick?
I did.
Yeah, which is?
And again, it really wouldn't be me without bringing up Garth Brooks.
No, of course.
Garth Brooks is like several greatest hits albums. Well, the one I've got here is the Ultimate Hits. It doesn't have my absolute favorite Garth Brooks song on there, which is Ireland, but that's because that one was never released as a single. It was just a deep cut.
Gotcha.
But it does have the song he did for that movie Frequency, When You Come Back to Me Again, which is just a fantastic song.
Okay. Oh.
Say what you will about the star of that movie, who was an absolute grade A scumbag.
Jackass. Jim Caviezel.
Oh, God.
Mr. QAnon himself.
The Dollop did a full episode on him. He is an interesting case study.
Yeah, but the movie, I actually did enjoy the movie, and and Kurt brings up Garth Brooks' greatest hits is just his Chris Gaines stuff. No, there are no Chris Gaines stuff on this one. Kurt. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate too. Nobody put the essential insert name of band here because I feel like those are like the laziest greatest hits of them all. Yeah, it's just
those seem like they were made by the record label, not the artist.
Exactly. So, all right, well, I got one more to go on my list here. Catherine, this is the one I picked up at Guitars and Grooves for probably too much money, but I had to have it because it is one of my favorite greatest hits of all time. Singles 45 and Under by Squeeze. Now, I talked earlier about how Eponymous by R.E.M. and Changes One Bowie by Bowie it paints an incomplete picture of the work of a band. 45s and Under is almost a perfect encapsulation of the band at their creative peak because everything released after 1982 is kind of on the, I wouldn't say forgettable side, but I think they had one decently sized hit back in the late 80s, Hourglass. But this pretty much takes you from a very stripped down sound when you start the album. Songs like Take Me, I'm Yours, Goodbye Girl, and Cool for Cats, which is the most British song I think I've ever heard in my life. I mean, they're singing and the British accent doesn't go away. But the album itself evolves, and you hear the evolution of this band as they're ramping up to bigger songs. Another Nail in My Heart, Pulling Muscles from the Shell, and then the last third of side 2, Tempted, which is their biggest hit that wasn't really a hit here. Black Coffee in Bed, and just to my point earlier about them just kind of throwing a song on the album, Annie Get Your Gun, which was released about 2 weeks before the album was released. Good song. I'll give it that. Annie Get Your Gun is a good song, but Squeeze is a very interesting band because I almost feel like they might be a novelty band, but they're not. They're actually very serious songwriters, and they put out some great stuff. And the first time I listened to Singles 45 and Under, I was shocked by how many songs I had actually heard on the radio before because WBCN was essentially just album-oriented rock. So I would hear these songs and not know where they came from. I'm like, oh, that's Squeeze. Oh, that's Squeeze. Oh, that's interesting. So it is an excellent album. This is one of the few albums I own kind of in all three mediums of vinyl, CD, and cassette. So they never released on 8-track because it was the early 80s and we were getting away from that.
Yeah.
Anybody familiar with Squeeze at all? I mean, we all know Tempted.
I'm sure if I heard the song, I'd probably know them, but
yeah. Tempted by the fruit of another.
Oh, okay. Now I remember.
Yeah.
Well, I listened to a lot of music that I didn't know the name of.
Yeah, exactly. And the song I'm going to drop for this, which is already dropped because the way I edit, you may have heard it before. So I'll let you be the judge of that. And plus, hey, you don't have to go out and buy these if you want to give them a one-time listen. You can always go on your streaming of choice.
That's right.
All right. Well, is that it? Do we have anything else we want to talk about before we go into next episode?
I think that's it.
Actually, this is probably our shortest music album episode ever.
Yeah, we still got drops when you get like the full deluxe version of this.
Yeah.
With extra noises. But we are going to leave this up on our Geek Salad page. So you're going to leave this feed up on our Geek Salad page as the live version. You'll get a real professionally cut version of this in a few weeks as well. Kurt, thank you so much for joining us on our first live episode. There were no troublemakers, so I think that I didn't need to do anything drastic. We didn't have to bar anybody, so I think we can continue with this for a while. We'll see how we do. And next episode, it's snack time. And we are going to be talking about some food and beverage brands that are no longer around that we kind of wish would come back. This was inspired by a conversation I had with somebody on Blue Sky about wine coolers. And I'm like, oh, I think we need to talk about this because, somebody's going to bring up Dunkaroos. And that there's like one dusty packet of Dunkaroos on a back shelf somewhere at a Buc-ee's somewhere. So... But yeah, so let us know what are some foods and beverages that you wish would come back. Do you want original Jolt Cola back? Because I know I do. Dude, that stuff was contraband in high school. Contraband.
It was, but now you think about there's shit like Monster and Red Bull, and so it's like, I mean, my
Prime,
my So Soph drinks so much. She used to drink so much Monster. I'm like, how did they not ban this in school?
Oh my god! God, her kidney stones must be the size of her head. Jesus.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what we're going to be talking about on our next episode. So everybody, thank you so much for joining us and listening to the live version. If you are new to the podcast, welcome. Don't forget to listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, whatever podcatcher you're at. Also, you can check us out. Check out our movie reviews right here where you found us. We are doing a month of Alfred Hitchcock films. So our next episode, actually, we're going to be recording tomorrow night with Mike's gal Jana, and we're going to be talking about The Birds.
Oh my God,
which is pretty exciting.
Poor Tippi Hedren.
Yep. Oh, geez.
Right.
Yeah, we'll get into that. So I got those stories already saved. I already got those stories saved. So, and if you want to follow us on the socials, we are on Facebook at Geek Salad Podcast and on Blue Sky at geeksalladradio.bsky.blah. So anyway, until next time, I'm Andy.
I'm Mike.
I'm Joe.
I'm Catherine.
Go forth. Maybe nerdful. We'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Rock on.
And well.